Uh, so this I'm filming this on Monday. And this weekend, I watched the Netflix live-action remake of the Avatar: The Last Airbender. That was the original. I grew up watching the original, and I am a fan of it. I don't. I've never talked about it on this channel just because I don't really have anything to say about it that hasn't already been said. It's great. I have fond memories of watching it and rewatching it. You know, and I do like Legend of Korra too, even though it is not as great as the first series, but still good. Uh, I have never read any of the comics because I've been told you don't really need to. And I did read the Kyoshi novels, which admittedly are not great, but they're entertaining enough and they add some interesting pieces of world building. So, when they announced they were doing the live action remake, with the original creators of the show, I really wasn't. I didn't really have strong feelings either way. If it's like some people were mad that they were doing it. I was like, who cares? It's if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, then that doesn't mean the original stops being good. But then the original creators of the show dropped out, and I was like, "Oop, that sucks." And they started Avatar Studios, and they were gonna make their own stuff, which I actually am interested in, though I don't know. I mean, I think it will at least be good. Maybe it won't have the same impact as the original, but it'll still be good, and it's gonna be made with it's gonna be made with care by people who actually believe in what they're doing. And as more news kept coming out about the live action, I was neutral to say the least. I was curious. I wasn't expecting it to surpass the original because nothing can, but I thought I would give it a chance. Um, the trailers came out, and I thought, okay, this looks good, or at least this will at least be worth a watch. But then we got the news about how they're gonna cut Sokka's sexism out, which was kind of, when I heard that, I was like, well, that is a stupid decision because that is part of his character development. I mean, I guess their logic was, well, we don't want one of our main heroes to be sexist, but by doing that, they're showing they completely missed the point of that, which is that he realizes that he's wrong and he grows. You know, then I saw the and when I watched the remake, the live action remake, and it had that prologue where it's the build up to the comet and the air nomad genocide. They had like this earthbender spy, running through the streets of the Fire Nation, which immediately I thought was really cool. Really, that was a great fight scene. But when they showed the genocide, they showed Aang living with the air nomads and the genocide. I just knew that was not a good sign for the rest of the show because that just removes the impact of it. because we don't get to learn about what happened with Aang, and also they completely change Aang's reason for running away. He finds out he's the Avatar, and he's overwhelmed, so he's like, okay, I just need some air, which is just not nearly as doesn't have nearly as much emotional weight, and also it just ruins the payoff of when we found out when the genocide is confirmed. um and also the show the show this version seems to believe the audience is dumb. Like, it's just constantly repeating the same things over and over again. It's constantly, you know, just spoon feeding us how important it is that Aang realizes that he's the Avatar, and it's just constantly repeating that they need to get to the North Pole. And then they change the reason they're going to the North Pole. Instead of just, in the original, it's Aang needs to learn waterbending because he's the Avatar and he needs to learn all the elements. And Katara also wants to learn waterbending. Which, and I don't know why they would feel the need to change that. Then during the scene then the episode when they go to Kyoshi Island and Sokka meets Suki, again, we see that, like the showrunners already said, we've eliminated his sexism, but his relationship with Suki does not feel earned. And I kept having that thought, like, over and over again while I was watching this version, which is, this does not feel earned. This does not feel earned. Katara is just given a waterbending scroll. She's not. She doesn't, like, that's a small change. It doesn't really affect it doesn't change the arc of the season as a whole, but it does change her character arc because she doesn't really have one. In the original, she steals the scroll because she's jealous of how good Aang is at waterbending. So we're robbed of a opportunity for character development, and Katara has no personality. She has no personality. She's just this slab of gray rock throughout the entire season. She never gets angry. She never shows any emotion. We don't really. There's just really nothing about her, and the whole. And you can say that to Sokka and Aang to a lesser to an extent too, because Aang is just really adamant about being the Avatar in this one. He's like, I need to be the Avatar. I need to learn what it means to be the Avatar. But he's not. And we're not. And he's a very the way the actor playing Aang. He conveys happiness. Aang is shown to be very happy. He's very joyful. But we don't, like, see him having fun. We never see that. There's this. In the first episode, when Aang is told that he's the Avatar, he's just, like, looking off into space saying, oh, I can't be the Avatar. I just like to have fun with my friends. But we never see him having fun with his friends. We're not shown anything. These are not characters, really. Their decisions do not drive this show. It's like, they're just like, everything about the show just feels like fan service. They've got bits, characters, and references to the original, but that's all they are. They are references. It's just references that don't actually do anything for the story. And, the protagonists, Sokka, Katara, Aang, they're just super lame. And it's indicative of this trend you see in media especially media that's marketed for teenagers, young adults, which is you don't want your characters to have any flaws. You know, Katara is you know, the characters in this never struggle with anything. They just instantly know what they're supposed to do, and it's not fun to watch. That you can't relate to them, and you know, we never see Aang learning waterbending at all, and we also barely see Katara learning waterbending. They also remove the significance of her mother's necklace. She has the same fight she does at the North Pole with Pakku, but they remove the part where Pakku sees her necklace and says, I gave this to my fiance, but she left. And Katara says she left because she was tired of your tribe's stupid rules, and that changes Pakku's mind. And then later, and he still refuses to let Katara learn waterbending, but later when the Fire Nation attacks the northern tribe, he lets the female waterbenders fight, and it doesn't feel earned. Again, I keep coming back to that. It does not feel earned. It does not feel earned. And it's just like, there's just nothing in this version, this live action version, has the same meaning as it did in the animated version. And I really was trying to judge this version on its own merits, but it's also just bad on its own. You know, the pacing is not great. It feels rushed and too slow at the same time. You know, it's like they're not. You know, it's like nothing is just. You know, it's like there's no room to breathe for anything. There's no room to develop anything. Like in the original, they had 20+ minute episodes, and that can actually be good for storytelling because you have to be smart and economical with your time. But with this, they have 8 40-minute episodes, and that just makes everything feel bloated. So yeah, it's just not great. I was just so frustrated. And like I was just trying to say, I'm trying to judge this on its own merits, but it's not great on its own. And when something is not great, I compare it to something that does what it's trying to do better, and I've already seen this story done better. So I'm just and I just kept thinking, how is this better than the original? How is it better? You know, it's not. There's a few things that are done better, like the army division that Zuko saves during the War Council meeting is made to be his crew on the ship, and that actually was a good decision. Combining the Blue Spirit and the Storm was great. That episode is called Masks, is actually is actually great. It is legitimately good. It's just aggressively mediocre. Like, it's not great or even good. It's also not insultingly bad. It's just aggressively mediocre, and it does nothing to justify its own existence. And all it made me, and all it did was make me want to rewatch the original, which I'm probably going to do now. So, that's it. Bye.